Hey, good morning. Welcome back. Good to be with everyone. Matt, good to be with you. And
Great to be here.
yeah, can't wait to talk to you next week. I think next time we see Matt, he's going to be a proud papa yet again. So we're days away, and good luck with that, my man. We've been in our prayers. So today, fatherhood, which Matt continues to embark on this journey of fatherhood. It takes courage to be a father. And we were talking about this week's theme, and we wanted to talk today about courageous communication. This is a theme that keeps coming up in so many conversations we have with clients, but this courageous communication, and what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And we think that courageous communication is the foundation not only of great salespeople, it's foundational to being a great sales leader. Mm-hmm. It's also foundational to being a great friend, being a great spouse, being a great parent. This concept of courageous communication, of challenging someone else, being courageous enough to not just tell people what they want to hear or let people share what they want to share without challenging it, without confirming and clarifying, without going deeper, because that's the difference between being kind and loving. So we're going to spend some time today talking about, are we just being kind or are we being loving? And are we willing to enter into courageous communication?
Yeah, what a cool name. Courageous communication. I just love that. And, I think when we talk about challenge, that might scare people a little bit. Yeah. Well, what do you mean? I don't want to challenge prospects, or I don't want to challenge a significant loved one, because it has a negative connotation. But and you'll do a great job probably later talking about being kind versus loving, because that's
putting the pressure on me.
That's what you talk about. I just talk about being able to challenge people in any way. But really, we talk about that courageous communication. And I think just to introduce it, how many of us stay at that superficial level, whether it's with a prospect or whether it's with a loved one? Hey, how's it going? Or, hey, how's your day? Or, what are you looking to achieve today? And we want better service. Okay, great. And we continue to move on and move forward. But, are we getting to that second, that third, that fourth level deep, where the why, or, what's really important, starts coming out, or where they are in their thought process? And just to stick with that example that popped in my head, we want better quality. It's really easy for assumptions to start sneaking in, because we do this every day. We sell our product or our service every day. So when someone says quality, it probably means this, or it probably means that. Are we courageous enough to say, okay, quality, talk to me about that?
There you go.
What does that mean to you?
I think you were going down the path of assumption there, right?
Yeah.
When somebody says quality, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Is when we have a history, and I think, Matt's example, referring to this, coming at this from the perspective of a salesperson, I have 10, 12, 15, 20 years in my industry. Somebody says quality, I know what that means. Mm-hmm. What does it mean? Well, I know what it means to me, right? I know what I think it means. I don't know what it means to them. Mm-hmm. And that's where courageous communication comes in, to stop, be in the moment, and say, tell me about the quality. When you say quality, tell me about quality. And, I love making statements that are those invitations to conversation. I love leaving them pregnant and just letting someone else jump on them. So in that moment, I might say, quality. And somebody's going to talk, right? But do you, be you, boo, own it and do what you do well. If you want to ask that question, say, tell me what you mean about quality. What's quality mean to you? When you say quality, can you give me an example? Right? Those are powerful statements. When we ask people for examples, they become very powerful statements. But the wrong thing to do in that moment is hear quality.
Keep going.
Keep going. Mm-hmm. Oh, the quality is important to them. And then you rush through to your next question, and you keep going, and you keep going, and you get through a list of questions, but you haven't put down roots in any of them.
Yeah, even if it's FANT, what we always talk about, there's
financial impact, authority, need, and timeline.
There's, like it or not, there's potential to be superficial and surface level with that. I asked for the budget, check, didn't get it, keep moving on. Authority. They told me they're going to all get together. I don't know who that is, what's important to them.
That's right. When it's going to happen.
Yeah, anything like that. So there is potential to be there. But I think you said something important I want to go back to. If we think about that challenge, people might misconstrue that with challenging via statements, because someone can be challenging and trying to prove their side or what they're going to do. We're not defending here. We're talking about courageous communication with the questions that we ask.
That's right.
And
with purpose, because
correct.
It's not to be right. I always tell people, you can be right, dig in, argue, be right, but are you going to win? So is it more important to be right or to be helpful? Is it more important to be right or is it to win? Is it more important to be right or to show someone a solution they didn't know was a possibility? We don't need to be right. We don't need to walk out of there and say, hey, we won that debate. We need to walk out of there and have built relationship, have built value, and have shown someone a better future state.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say it time and time again, there's probably viewers out there that are going to roll their eyes with me bringing it up and finding a way to talk about it once again, but people don't necessarily know how to buy. They haven't thought through their whole entire process, or, oh, by the way, they do this once a year or once every couple years or even twice a year. We do this daily. So don't discount the fact that asking some of these courageous communication via questions, that's serving a great purpose. Don't run away if they're like, oh, I don't really know, or I'm not sure the answer to that. Yeah. That is perfect, and that's a great outcome, because we can walk down that path together. We can walk in a partnership, and helping them uncover that, even if it's their own internal buying process. There's no better situation that you can be in.
That's such a big point. That's so important, right? Because I think we find that quite a bit. I found it twice over the past week where we were in situations. And you have to be committed to this courageous communication, by the way, because it is too easy. It is way too easy to just go soft. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll figure that out later.
Or go soft on certain topics, because I know there are people that might go soft on timeline and they don't really get those clear next steps. Or, I'm going to ask budget, but if they don't give it to me, or the financial impact, I'm gonna go the opposite direction right away. So sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good, because you know what you just reminded me of? There are times when people are like, oh, I don't want to sit in this moment too long, right? The salespeople, and by the way, I suffer from this. We're human, it's not like we're robots. So I was in 2 or 3 different sales cycles last week where I had to force myself to stay in the moment, to establish a clear next step. I had to force myself to ask about that, about timeline, and I had to show and demonstrate my expertise through my experience. And the one client, I said to him, I was like, hey, realistically, can you do this in the next 2 weeks? And they had asked why. I said, because we're coming up on end of quarter. And when we hit September 15th, I don't want to be bothered with this. I am not distracting your salespeople from the last 2 weeks of the quarter by doing things that we need to do to get prepared for this program, right? So in that moment, I demonstrated to them that I understood the needs of their business. I demonstrated to them, I get you. Right? I've been here before. And in that moment, they're like, yeah, you're right. We better go today.
And that was a challenge. And that was taking it, I don't want to say negative, but it was, offering something that could potentially be negative by saying, hey, are you sure we'll be able to do that? Are you sure you'll be able to meet that timeline? Are you sure, even though we're 2 times higher, that everyone's going to agree with your sentiment and what you're thinking about that? So I think for that courageous communication, it's asking that, are you sure? Can you? And being the one to slow it down, slow the sales cycle down in that moment, to ask that question, which ultimately will be able to speed it up. Because in your particular example, we get to the 15th, all the salespeople start complaining, and we're like, oh, you know what? Let's do this, Q1 of next year.
Yeah. And that's what we have to avoid, is we have to be courageous to ask those questions, because, by the way, that was a question for them. That was an idea for them. I wanted the best for them, not for me. The easy part, and that's the difference between kind and loving. And, we have so many clients. We're fortunate and blessed to pick who we want to work with, I think, now, right? Versus 12 years ago.
Was your money green?
Yeah, right. Our qualifying question was, can you pay me? Yeah. 12 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
I don't care what payment terms, but will we eventually be paid?
Yeah. So, we're fortunate now that we can pick and choose a little more who we desire to work with and who we want to work with. And the folks that we work with are good people. We're blessed. For all of our clients watching, you are a blessing in our lives. We're so fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
And we don't have to work with people that are bad people, that are misaligned from us ethically, that we can't get behind what they want to do. We don't have any of that. But as a result, many of our clients are kind. You know, we have one client in particular that I asked him, I said, let's define your culture. You know, we're going through this exercise. So how would you define your culture? And after all these, like, you know, superlatives and adjectives and behaviors, and here's things we do, they arrived at we're kind. I said, that's beautiful. Like, who wouldn't want to come work in a culture where you define it as being kind? Because there's so much implied with that, right? Like, we take care of each other, we speak nicely to each other, we hold each other with dignity, and all that goodness. Here's a problem with kind culture. Kind cultures don't challenge people because we're going to be polite. And they see challenges, this courageous communication that forces people to think as being too intrusive or impolite. No, that's the difference between a kind culture and a loving culture. Definition of love we like to use is wanting the best for the other, right? I think you have a few people in your life you love.
Yep.
Yeah. You want what's good for them.
Absolutely.
You do not. I know one person in particular Matt loves. He shared this with me. It's Lucy, right? Little Lucy, who's just turned 2. You're kind to Lucy, but I think you're more loving to Lucy. Why is that? Why are you loving to Lucy?
Because I ultimately want the best for her.
So why won't you let her just do what she wants to do?
Because right now, at her age, she doesn't necessarily know what's best for her.
So paraphrased, Lucy doesn't have enough experience to know how to make great decisions. Many of our clients don't have the experience in our industry. Many of your clients, your customers, don't have the experience in your industry to make great decisions. So if you're going to be loving towards them and you're going to want what's good for them, you're going to want the best for them, we have to be courageous to help them see the possible. We have to be courageous to help them think about what's possible, think about what they need because they haven't thought about it themselves.
Yeah.
That's the difference between being kind, just doing whatever they tell you to do. When they tell you jump, you know, the phrase people always say, when I say jump, you ask how high.
Yeah.
We have clients that when their customers or their clients tell them to jump, they're so kind, they don't even ask how high. They just jump, and they hope it was the right jump.
They keep jumping.
Yeah, that's right. But that doesn't deliver value for the customer or the client.
Well, I mean, you're right on. Weekly, if not daily, we get into these discussions of, you know, what's the competitive advantage or what's our value prop and what are we selling on. Talk about a great way to differentiate. Be asking some tough questions. And again, I want to go back to challenge, and you compared it to being, you know, kind and polite. Challenging questions in the right way are not impolite.
Correct.
Being direct is not directly correlated to being disrespectful.
I would argue being direct is actually the most loving and kind thing you could do for somebody to get the clarity.
Absolutely. And so I just want everybody to understand that based off of upbringing, based off of, you know, background, baggage, you know, the bucket of water we talk about with people and also prospects.
Yeah. Don't go back to your boss and say, Tellerico and Rogers are saying be mean. That's not.
Yeah, that's definitely not it. But this courageous communication is about asking that second, third, fourth level of questions on particular topics that, by the way, we have more experience in probably than the buyer, or we have, if it's someone in our personal life, we have experience in that we can share out of love and wanting the best for them and being able, you know, to walk together. So, you know, for me, I love to issue. I guess speaking of it, challenges or things to think about. You know, where in your sales process could you be more courageous? You know, questions. If you follow FANT, Financial Impact Authority Need Timeline, you know, where can you go that second, third, fourth level deep that you're just staying superficial? Or maybe it's what type of prospect sitting across the table from you that causes you just to go superficial, you know, from the sales perspective. And I'm sure since I'm all sales, you'll probably issue a challenge in your personal life too.
Yeah, and I would want you to think back over the past week of a conversation you had, a relationship you have, a moment you found yourself thinking, I'd like to know more. I'd like to go deeper. I'd like to help lead this person to seeing something greater and something more possible. But I backed off because I lacked the courage to ask that next question. You know, Matt talked earlier about when we hear words and we hear things, do we assume we know what they mean? And there's a priest out here, we're in Pittsburgh, and there's a priest, Father Scott Seathaler. He's a wonderful homilist, wonderful speaker, and just one of those all-around great guys who's quite humorous as well. And he tells a joke when he does retreats all the time. He told a story about a married couple who the husband, like most husbands, was not as attentive to the needs of his wife as he should have been. He forgot special days, he forgot anniversaries, he forgot birthdays. So one year after forgetting a particular big anniversary, I think it was 25 years, his wife was quite frustrated with him. And she told him, I deserve something. I deserve a very nice present for all this time together. So the next day, the man bought her a vacuum cleaner because he thought that was very nice. And the wife said, you don't get it. You don't get it. Here's what I want. Tomorrow, I want to walk out in that driveway, and there better be something that goes from 0 to 200 in like 4 seconds flat. So the next morning, the woman wakes up, she walks out in the driveway, and she found a scale. So that's when you have misalignment over people's needs. When somebody says, I want this or I need this, and people give you statements, if we don't go deeper and we don't understand what they are, we could end up frustrating people by not delivering what they need. So how can we get better at that? Think back over this past week. Where was a conversation that I should have gone deeper? Where was a conversation that I lacked courage because I did what was more important for me? I made myself feel good in the moment. I didn't want to make myself feel uncomfortable in the moment by going deeper and probing. So instead, I just moved on, right? Where should I have been better at that? And then in the sales cycles, where do I typically fall down? Mm-hmm. Where do I typically lack the courage where I just go with what I think I know, where I don't establish a clear next step, where I'm not willing to go deeper and confirm and clarify? Where can I get better? We're on a constant, never-ending, continuous improvement journey. So glad to be on it with you, and thank you for giving us some time this week to talk about how we might get better. Hope you have a great week. Good luck to you and Paige this week and all that you're going to be going through with your family.
Appreciate that.
Take care, everyone. God bless.